All right, so get this. We're diving into this story that has the internet buzzing, and it involves Elon Musk, a popular megachurch, and a donation so big it'll make your jaw drop.
Ooh, yeah, it's wild.
Yeah,
It's really fascinating how this story kind of brings together, you know, faith tech and then the whole world of online claims.
yeah, for sure.
And it shows how information, especially about someone like Elon Musk, can just take on a life of its own in the digital age.
Okay, so here's the setup. Our deep dive is based on this YouTube video that breaks down these claims about Elon Musk being a major supporter of Christ Embassy,
Hmm.
a church that's, known for its prosperity gospel teachings and global reach.
Right.
The video's creator is a Christian commentator, and they basically dive right into these viral claims that are suggesting that Musk is not only a devoted member, but also their top financial backer for 2024, supposedly donating $1 billion to help distribute their daily devotional Rhapsody of Realities.
$1 billion. Wow, that's not just a drop in the offering plate, that's a whole tidal wave. And it's really interesting is how Christ Embassy has built a significant online presence through platforms like their own social network called King's Chat.
Okay.
Think of it as like a faith-based Facebook where members can connect, share testimonies, and just stay updated on all the church activities.
Makes sense.
The commentator in the video actually joined King's Chat just to see what the buzz was about within the Christ Embassy community itself.
Oh, wow. So what did they find? Was the internet just overflowing with praise for Brother Elon?
Well, not exactly. That's where things take a bit of an interesting turn.
Okay.
While there were definitely posts like referring to Musk in a positive light, calling him highly esteemed, the commentators started noticing something a little curious on King's Chat.
Okay.
Posts started popping up that suggested that the Elon Musk everyone was talking about might actually be a pastor within Christ Embassy's U.S. branch.
Oh, wow.
Apparently, he's quite popular, and he may have even earned the nickname Elon Musk within their community.
Wait, so there's a chance they were celebrating their own pastor and people just assumed it was the Elon Musk?
That's exactly what the commentator is suggesting, and it really highlights how context can get lost in translation, especially online.
Yeah.
We often jump to conclusions based on these snippets of information without really understanding the full picture.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But what about Elon Musk himself? Like, has he said anything about this whole situation?
That's the curious part. Despite all this online discussion, Musk hasn't publicly acknowledged any connection to Christ Embassy, let alone a billion-dollar partnership.
Which seems really odd given how vocal he is on pretty much every other topic.
Exactly, and it's also worth noting that Musk has described himself as a cultural Christian in interviews.
Okay.
Essentially, he appreciates the teachings of Jesus and the cultural impact of Christianity,
Hmm.
but doesn't necessarily adhere to all the doctrines or practices of any specific denomination. This makes the idea of him being a major financial supporter of a specific church, especially one he hasn't publicly acknowledged, even more puzzling.
Yeah, so mysterious. So if he hasn't confirmed it and the Elon Musk at this event might be someone else entirely, where did this whole $1 billion donation claim come from?
Well, that is the million-dollar question. The commentator in the video, they dug a little deeper and uncovered some footage from a Christ Embassy event in the USA.
Okay.
In the video, a pastor congratulates brother Elon Musk and mentions a Top Partner award. Now, Top Partner is a significant title within Christ Embassy. It's usually reserved for individuals who've made really substantial contributions to the church and its various initiatives.
So they saw this footage, heard Elon Musk and Top Partner, and assumed he must have donated a massive sum of money.
It seems like that's how the story started to gain traction. And to be fair, the idea of Elon Musk, one of the wealthiest people in the world, aligning himself with Christ Embassy, which promotes this idea of financial prosperity as a sign of God's favor, might have seemed plausible to some people.
Yeah, I can definitely see how those dots might be connected, especially in the echo chamber of social media.
Right.
But is there any actual evidence, like hard proof to support this $1 billion donation claim?
Well, that's where things get murky. The
Right.
commentator points out that despite Christ Embassy's emphasis on publicly celebrating large contributions, there's no official documentation or announcement confirming a donation of this magnitude from Elon Musk.
Hmm. So we have this unconfirmed claim of potentially misidentified Elon Musk
Yeah.
and a church that's known for emphasizing wealth and success, but hasn't officially confirmed this supposedly massive donation.
Right.
It definitely seems like there's more to this story than meets the eye.
Absolutely. And this is where we need to put on our critical thinking caps. Remember, the commentator's investigation is just one perspective.
Right.
To get a clear understanding of this situation, we need to consider all angles, weigh the evidence, and be open to the possibility that the truth might be more complex than it initially appears.
It sounds like we have a lot to unpack here, but before we jump into analyzing all these different interpretations and implications, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier, Rhapsody of Realities.
Okay.
It seems like this daily devotional plays a pretty central role in this whole story.
It does. Rhapsody of Realities is more than just a devotional. It's a cornerstone of Christ Embassy's outreach efforts. They distribute millions of copies worldwide in multiple languages, and it's often cited as a source of inspiration and guidance for their members.
So it's a pretty big deal within their community, and the claim is that Elon Musk donated $1 billion to help spread this devotional even further.
That's the claim being circulated. It feeds into this narrative of Elon Musk not just supporting Christ Embassy, but actively participating in their mission to spread their message globally.
Okay, so we've laid out the basic facts, the claims, the key players, but now I'm even more curious. What are the potential motivations behind these claims?
Right.
Why would someone connect Elon Musk to Christ Embassy in this way, and why would the church be so vague in their response?
Ooh, that's a great question, and it's definitely something we'll explore further in part 2 of our deep dive.
All right, listeners, stay tuned. We're just getting started.
Welcome back to our deep dive into this whole curious world of Elon Musk and Christ Embassy.
Yeah, we've got a real head scratcher on our hands.
We do.
Like last time we were talking about that claim that Elon Musk donated $1 billion to Christ Embassy, becoming their top partner and helping distribute their devotional Rhapsody of Realities.
Right.
But it seems like the more we dig, the more questions pop up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're trying to solve a mystery novel where everyone's a suspect, but no one is talking.
For sure. And one of the biggest questions I have is why Elon Musk himself has been totally silent on this whole issue.
Right.
Like, he's usually pretty active on social media, so this silence is deafening.
It really is. That's the thing about Elon Musk. He's kind of a master of controlling his own narrative.
Yeah.
He knows that silence can be just as powerful as words, especially in this age of instant news and social media frenzy. By not engaging directly with all this, he avoids, amplifying the rumors and maintains a certain level of mystique.
So he's playing the long game. Interesting. But what about Christ Embassy? Why haven't they clarified the situation at all?
Yeah.
A donation of that size, you'd think that would be a major PR win for them.
You would think so, wouldn't you? Especially for a church that's known for, celebrating its successes and highlighting the generosity of its members.
Right.
I think their response, or lack thereof, has been very calculated.
Okay.
They haven't denied the claims outright, but they also haven't explicitly confirmed them either.
Yeah.
It's a strategy that kind of keeps people guessing and perhaps even adds to the intrigue a little bit.
Yeah, intrigue that could potentially attract new followers or increase engagement on their platform, King's Chat.
Possibly. And it's also important to remember that Christ Embassy, like many other religious institutions, operates in the realm of belief and faith,
Yeah.
Definitive proof isn't always necessary to inspire devotion or encourage support.
That's a really interesting point. So while Elon Musk's silence might be this strategic move to control his image, Christ Embassy's ambiguity could be a way to kind of leverage the power of belief and maintain a sense of mystery.
Exactly.
But what about the claim itself? Is there any way to verify if this billion-dollar donation actually happened?
That's the real challenge here. We're dealing with a lot of speculation and interpretation based on, snippets of information, social media posts, and that video from the Christian commentator, without any of official statements or financial records from either Elon Musk or Christ Embassy. It's incredibly difficult to determine the validity of the claim.
So are we saying that it's impossible to know for sure what really happened here?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay.
But it really highlights the importance of critical thinking and media literacy, especially when it comes to information that's circulating online.
Yeah.
We need to be aware of the potential for bias and manipulation and this spread of misinformation.
So how do we navigate this really murky world of online claims and interpretations? How do we separate fact from fiction?
Well, it starts with understanding the context. In this case, we're dealing with a convergence of factors. We've got a charismatic tech mogul known for his bold pronouncements.
Right.
We've got a church that promotes prosperity as a sign of God's favor.
Yeah.
And then you've got this whole online environment where information, both accurate and inaccurate, travels at warp speed.
It's like the perfect storm for a viral story, even if the story itself might be built on shaky foundations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you factor in, the human tendency to believe things that align with our pre-existing beliefs or desires,
Yeah.
it's easy to see how a story like this can gain traction and take on a life of its own.
Right, so we have to be extra cautious, especially when we're dealing with information that plays into our existing biases or reinforces narratives that we find really appealing.
For sure.
But what about the people who are spreading these claims? What could their motivations be?
That's a really good question, and that's definitely something worth pondering. Some might genuinely believe these claims and are eager to share what they perceive as good news.
Yeah.
Others might see this as an opportunity to promote their own agendas,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's, boosting their own online platform, validating their religious beliefs, or even profiting from all the attention.
Yeah, it's a reminder that information is rarely neutral.
Right.
There's often an underlying agenda, whether it's conscious or unconscious.
Precisely. And that's why it's crucial to consider the source, examine the evidence, and be wary of claims that seem too good to be true, or that confirm what we already want to believe.
So in essence, we need to be skeptical, but not cynical.
Right.
We should question information, but not just dismiss it outright because it challenges our worldview.
Absolutely. Critical thinking involves being open to new information while also recognizing the potential for manipulation and distortion.
It's a balancing act for sure. But let's get back to the specifics of this case. We talked
Yeah.
about King's Chat earlier, Christ Embassy's online community. The commentator in that YouTube video found some interesting posts there that kind of suggested a different interpretation of the Elon Musk being celebrated at that event.
Right. They implied that the Elon Musk everyone was talking about might actually be a pastor within the Christ Embassy's U.S. branch, who just happens to be nicknamed Elon Musk.
Wow.
The commentator even found references to this pastor being called the Elon Musk in our zone.
So it's almost as if the online community itself was hinting that people were misinterpreting the situation.
It's certainly an interesting twist,
Mm-hmm.
and it really speaks to the power of context.
Mm.
Sometimes understanding the nuances of a story requires delving into the specific communities and conversations where it's unfolding.
Right. So it's not just about fact checking or looking for external evidence.
Right.
It's also about understanding like the internal language, the shared beliefs, and the cultural dynamics within a particular group.
Precisely. And that's where platforms like King's Chat become these really fascinating case studies.
Yeah.
They offer a glimpse into how communities form online, how information spreads within those communities, and how narratives are shaped and reshaped through this collective interpretation.
Wow. It's like we're peering into this digital microcosm of human interaction,
Exactly.
where beliefs and desires and interpretations intertwine to create this unique ecosystem of information flow.
Exactly. And that's what makes this story so captivating.
Yeah.
It's not just about a potential donation or a misidentified individual.
Right.
It's about the way we navigate information in the digital age.
Wow.
How we form beliefs and how we grapple with the complexities of truth and perception in a world where narratives are constantly being constructed and deconstructed.
That is a lot to wrap our heads around, but I feel like we're starting to piece together a more nuanced understanding of the situation.
I think we are, and in part 3 of our deep dive, we'll explore the broader implications of this whole story, examining the role of social media in shaping narratives, the power of belief in a world of uncertainty, and the challenges of discerning truth in this age of information overload.
Sounds like a fascinating discussion. Can't wait to dive in. Welcome back to the deep dive. We have been on quite a journey trying to untangle this whole Elon Musk Christ Embassy thing.
Yeah, it's been quite the ride, hasn't it?
It really has, like peeling back the layers of an onion. Each layer reveals something new.
Yeah, and makes you cry a little bit.
A little bit, yeah, for sure. It's been like a masterclass in critical thinking and media literacy for me. It's amazing how a single claim, even one without concrete evidence, can just spread so quickly and generate so much discussion.
It really is. And, I think it just goes to show the power of narratives in the digital age.
Right.
We live in a world now where attention is currency, and a compelling story, even if it's based on, speculation or misinformation, can capture that attention and spread like wildfire.
Yeah, and especially when you have figures like Elon Musk with his larger-than-life persona and this huge following,
Right.
mixed with a church that promotes this idea of prosperity as a sign of God's favor. Like,
Yeah.
you've got a recipe for a story that's going to resonate with a lot of people.
Absolutely. It taps into our desires for, success, belonging, meaning.
Yeah.
And in a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, These narratives offer a sense of order and purpose.
So it's not just about the information itself.
Right.
It's about these underlying human needs and desires that these stories kind of fulfill.
Exactly. We're wired to seek patterns, connect the dots, and create these narratives that help us make sense of the world around us.
Right.
And sometimes that means, filling in the gaps with our own assumptions, beliefs, or wishful thinking.
Which brings us back to the importance of critical thinking.
Yes.
We have to be aware of our own biases, question our assumptions, and be willing to challenge these narratives that might just confirm what we already want to believe.
Especially in an online environment where algorithms are designed to feed us content that aligns with our existing interests and preferences.
Right.
It creates these echo chambers where misinformation can flourish and critical thinking can take a back seat.
So what's the solution? How do we break free from these echo chambers and become more discerning consumers of information?
I think it starts with recognizing that we all have biases.
Okay.
None of us are immune to the influence of our own experiences, beliefs, and desires. The first step is to acknowledge those biases and just be aware of how they might be shaping our perceptions.
And then what do we just have to constantly second guess everything we see and hear? That seems exhausting.
Well, not necessarily. It's more about finding a balance between, healthy skepticism and open-mindedness.
Okay.
We can still be curious and engage with new information, but we also need to be willing to ask some critical questions.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Sure, some good questions to ask are, who's sharing this information? What are their motivations? What evidence is there to support their claims? Are there any alternative perspectives?
Okay.
And maybe most importantly, does this information align with my own values and beliefs?
Yeah. I like that last one. It's a good reminder that we have a responsibility to be critical, not just of the information itself, but also of the potential impact it might have on ourselves and others.
Exactly. Critical thinking isn't just about being right or wrong. It's about making informed decisions and taking responsible actions based on the best available information.
So being active participants in the information ecosystem rather than passive consumers.
Exactly. And that's what this whole Elon Musk Christ Embassy story has really highlighted for me.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we all have a role to play in shaping the narrative, in discerning truth from falsehood, and just creating a more informed and responsible online environment.
So what's the takeaway for our listeners? What can they do to be more critical thinkers and navigate this whole complex world of online information?
I think the most important thing is to just stay curious, stay engaged, and never stop asking questions.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to challenge the status quo, to seek out diverse perspectives, and to engage in respectful dialogue with people who hold different views.
And it's okay to admit when you don't know something or when you need more information.
Absolutely.
That's all part of the learning process.
Humility is key in the pursuit of truth.
Right.
We all make mistakes, we all have blind spots, and there's always more to learn.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me, and I hope our listeners found it insightful as well.
It's been a pleasure exploring these complex issues with you.
And a huge thank you to all of our listeners for joining us on this journey. Until next time, keep those critical thinking caps on and stay curious. Okay, so back to Apostle Suleman. Who is this guy?
So apostle means someone pretty high up in Christ Embassy,
Okay,
someone with a lot of authority and influence.
got it.
Suleman leads a large congregation himself and is known for organizing these huge religious events.
I see. He's familiar with this kind of scale, then.
Yeah, and he really looks up to Pastor Chris, the leader of Christ Embassy.
So he's speaking from experience and as a true admirer.
Exactly. And in the MP3 file, he uses some pretty striking examples.
Oh, like what?
Well, he claims that Rhapsody of Realities is the second most read book among Christians,
Second only to?
the Bible.
Wow.
And he talks about how many people attend Pastor Chris's events.
Okay.
A conference with 130 million registrations
130 million.
and healing events with billions of viewers.
That's more than some of the biggest tech conferences out there.
It really makes you think. This organization is rivaling major companies in terms of reach.
And yet we don't hear that much about it.
You'd think this connection between Musk and Christ Embassy would be all over the news.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Maybe it's because they operate in such different worlds,
Maybe.
which is what makes this deep dive so interesting, right?
Absolutely. So what's Suleman's take on all of this, on the partnership?
Well, he draws a really interesting contrast between Musk and Pastor Chris's leadership styles.
Oh, how so?
He says Pastor Chris is a quiet leader, lets his work speak for itself,
Interesting.
compared to the noisemakers out there.
Is